The hall stretched endlessly, an ocean of black marble and starlight with ceilings that seemed to dissolve into the sky. Shadows shifted across the walls as if they had lives of their own. The humans stepped carefully, feeling the cold stone beneath their feet. They had never seen a place like this, so beautiful, so alien, and yet somehow alive. They were searching for a seat. It was supposed to be simple. A grand conclave of rulers from distant worlds, a chance to witness the universe's most powerful beings gathered in one place. But the moment they had stepped into the hall, it had felt impossible. The air shimmered with quiet power, and the sound of whispered voices echoed through corridors that seemed to bend and stretch, as if the building itself were breathing. Everywhere they looked, beings of impossible shapes and sizes floated or strode through the hall. Some had wings like stained glass, others had eyes that glowed with inner stars. The traveler's heart pounded. They were a stranger in a world that had rules they could not understand. They clutched the strap of their satchel, their knuckles white. "Just find a seat," they whispered to themselves. "Just find a seat." Most seemed to weigh them as if they were deciding whether this human was interesting or dangerous. And then, amidst the swirl of beings, the traveler saw her. The alien queen. She did not rise or greet anyone. She simply sat on a throne that seemed carved from the night sky itself, black as void but flecked with glimmering lights that moved like stars. Her eyes were larger than any human's, the color of molten silver, reflecting everything around them and yet revealing nothing. Her skin shimmered faintly, like moonlight on water, smooth and cold. Every movement she made commanded attention, yet she radiated a stillness that seemed to bend the chaos of the hall toward her. The traveler froze. It was as if the air itself had thickened. Every instinct told them to stay away. Every impulse whispered to approach. Then, impossibly, her gaze fell upon them. It was sudden and sharp, a weight that made the traveler stumble slightly forward. Their knees felt weak. Every being in the hall seemed to fade, and all the noise disappeared, replaced by the sound of their own heartbeat, echoing in their ears. And then, without a word, she raised her hand. The hand was delicate but strong, fingers tipped with silver like the claws of some divine creature. She gestured toward the empty space beside her throne. Slowly, carefully, the traveler stepped forward. Every step felt like crossing into another world, as if a threshold had been crossed and nothing would ever be the same. When they reached the throne, the queen's eyes studied them, unblinking. She was taller than a human, though her presence made her seem even larger, as if she carried the weight of countless worlds in her shoulders. The traveler felt both fear and awe. "You," she said, her voice low and musical, carrying a resonance that made the marble beneath them hum. "You are not supposed to be here, yet somehow you are exactly where I need you." "Perhaps fate is." Some with interest, others with caution. Whispers rippled through the hall, though no words could be heard clearly. The traveler felt their cheeks heat under the gaze of so many powerful eyes. Every instinct in them screamed to retreat, yet they could not. Something about the queen held them, a gravity that was more than physical. "Do you understand what you have done by sitting here?" the queen asked, her gaze piercing. It was not a question meant for an answer, but for the traveler to feel, and feel they did. Every choice, every fear, every unspoken thought was bare to her eyes. I'm just trying to find a seat," the traveler said finally, voice trembling. The queen's lips curved into a slow, enigmatic smile. "Ah. There is no simple seat in a place like this. Only paths, and tonight your path touches mine." Who are you?" the traveler asked, though it was more a plea than a question. "I am the one who holds the night between the stars," she said, her voice a thread of music and shadow. "I am the one who watches over what should not be watched, and tonight I am the one who has chosen to notice you." They did not fully understand what the queen meant, but they felt it. A thread had tied them to this moment, and nothing in the world could untangle it. Suddenly, the hall shifted again. A distant door slammed somewhere unseen, and a ripple of light passed through the room. The queen's gaze sharpened, her hand hovering slightly above the armrest of her throne. The shadows recoiled, and the other rulers in the hall stirred uneasily. The traveler's heart skipped. "What's happening?" they whispered. The queen's eyes softened just for a moment. "The night is restless," she said, "and it has been restless long before you arrived, but the storm may be more personal tonight." The shadows around the throne deepened, curling around their feet like black smoke. Some part of them wanted to run, to flee from the unknown. But another part, the part that had carried them across countless worlds and endless curiosity, made them lean forward, drawn by a force they could not name. The queen leaned slightly toward them. Her silver eyes caught the flicker of starlight from the chandeliers above, reflecting infinity itself. "Do not be afraid," she whispered, though her tone carried the weight of something more than comfort. The world you knew is ending tonight, and you are part of what comes next. Part of them wanted to speak to ask what she meant, but the sound died in their throat. They realized that words were useless here, only presence mattered, and so they stayed, heart-pounding, waiting, listening. The hall seemed to pulse in time with their heartbeat. The shadows writhed like living things, the whispers of unseen beings brushed against their ears, and yet the traveler felt, against all reason, that they were safe beside the queen. Or at least, as safe as one could be in a place where fate itself seemed alive. The queen's hand rested lightly on the throne, close enough that the traveler could feel the warmth radiating from her, though it was unlike any warmth they had ever known. It was not human, not fully, yet it was intoxicating, a mixture of danger and longing. Then, without warning, the walls of the hall seemed to shimmer, like a reflection in water disturbed by wind. Every shadow recoiled, and the whispers turned sharp, urgent. The queen's eyes narrowed, her gaze sweeping the hall like a blade. "They know you're here," she said finally, in a voice that sent chills down the traveler's spine. "And if they come for you, I cannot promise the hall will save you." Who? They were trapped between fear and fascination, drawn deeper into the web of a queen who was no ordinary ruler. And as the first stars of this alien night began to shimmer through the transparent ceilings, the traveler realized that their life, everything they had known, had already begun to change. They were no longer merely searching for a seat. They had been chosen. And the choice had consequences they could not yet imagine. The traveler followed the alien queen through corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly, twisting like rivers of silver and shadow. Every step made the human feel both small and strangely important, as if each movement resonated in the walls themselves. The palace was alive in a way that defied reason. Light shimmered without source, shadows whispered faintly in corners, and the air was thick with an unspoken promise. "Where are we going?" the traveler asked softly, afraid that any louder sound might shatter the delicate balance around them. The queen's eyes, molten silver in the dim glow, flicked toward them. "Some places are meant for eyes that are willing to see," she said. Her voice carried a strange music, calming yet commanding, and the traveler felt their chest tighten with both curiosity and apprehension. They walked past halls filled with statues that seemed to shift when no one looked directly at them, through gardens that floated midair with blossoms that glimmered like stars. The queen moved with perfect grace, each step deliberate, yet effortless. The traveler stumbled occasionally, aware of their human frailty in contrast to her alien perfection. Finally, they arrived at a chamber bathed in soft starlight. The walls were glass-like, showing a void that stretched infinitely in every direction, dotted with distant stars that burned with quiet intensity. Inside, the floor reflected the sky above, creating the illusion that they were walking among constellations. "This is beautiful," the traveler whispered. Words felt insufficient. The queen nodded slowly, settling into a throne of translucent crystal in the center of the room. "It is not for beauty alone," she said. "This place holds memories, echoes of choices, and shadows of what might have been. It is private, and you human are not often allowed here. That light can touch what I have lost. And I am not. Perhaps that is why," their voice faltered, unsure. "Perhaps that is why you noticed me. And unguarded hearts have a dangerous charm. I have lived centuries in solitude, ruling realms, commanding respect, and yet I have never known true connection. Only observation, only control, only distance. And yet there are moments, brief and fleeting, when a being such as you appears. A soul untouched by the shadows that bind me, and for a moment I remember what it is to feel, not only to rule. And yet fate, or something older, has brought you here. If it is dangerous, perhaps not at all." The queen studied them carefully, her eyes like mirrors reflecting both light and depth, revealing and hiding in equal measure. "You carry a choice within you," she said finally. "A choice to step forward or a choice to step back. Most humans would run, but I sense you are not like most humans. And I want to know why you chose me." "Because you are unbroken," she said softly. "And because there is something inside you, light, courage, compassion, that can reach me where no one else can. I have ruled, I have conquered, I have commanded, but I have not been seen, not truly. And if you choose to remain, to stand by me, you must see not only me but the truth of this world, its dangers, its darkness, its power, and the cost of being near me. I want to understand, and I want to stay, and prepared to trust, even when trust seems impossible. You are now part of a tide larger than you realize. But not all trouble comes with claws. Some comes with choices, and tonight your choices will matter more than you know. The queen turned, sweeping her gaze toward the chamber again, toward the stars and shadows beyond. "We have little time," she said. "I must show you the secrets you need to see, or you will falter, and if you falter, it will not only be your own life at risk. Do you understand?" "I understand." The gravity of the moment pressed on them, heavy yet thrilling. They knew with certainty that nothing would ever be the same. And as the starlit chamber pulsed softly, shadows flickering at the edges of vision, the traveler realized that the queen's words were not merely warnings. They were promises. A world of wonder, danger, and impossible connection awaited. And the first step into it had already been taken. The hall of shadows behind them was now far away, a fading echo of starlight and whispers. The traveler's heart still raced from the queen's words, and yet there was no time to linger. Danger pressed close, a presence both unseen and undeniable. "They are coming," the queen said, her silver eyes reflecting the starlit void. "And they will not stop until they have taken you. Your heart's small and human, yet unbroken. It is not ordinary, and it calls to powers older than my own. There is a path beyond the palace that few have seen. It is not safe, but it may be the only way to protect you." They stepped through a corridor that shimmered like liquid silver. Shadows twisted around them, curling and shifting with a life of their own. The traveler could feel them brushing against their mind, testing, probing, and yet the queen's presence held them back. It was not protection alone, but command, quiet, absolute, and terrifying in its certainty. Soon they emerged into a garden that floated in a void, blossoms glowing faintly in colors the traveler could not name. Stars drifted like petals, and in the distance the black of endless space stretched, broken only by distant glimmers. "This is the edge of the known," the queen said softly. "Beyond this, the laws of our world weaken. Only those who are willing to face the unknown may survive." And for the first time, they felt that perhaps they belonged not just as a visitor, but as someone who could shape what was to come. "Stay close," the queen instructed. "The path will test more than your courage. It will test your heart, your trust, and the strength of your mind." Stars and shadows swirled, forming shapes that were almost recognizable, faces, beasts, and creatures that seemed born of nightmare and dream alike. Every step made the traveler's pulse race, and yet with the queen at their side, they felt the courage to move forward. "You must understand," she said, glancing at them. "I cannot control what lies ahead completely. Even my power has limits. You will need to rely on your own instincts as much as mine. They come first to test the path, to see who dares to walk it. We must move before they sense us." Its eyes glowed like molten gold, and its shape shifted constantly, impossible to focus on. "Move," the queen commanded, and she led the traveler through the floating stones, leaping with ease while the human followed as best they could. Their hearts pounded in unison, not just from fear, but from the rhythm of shared survival. The shadow reached out with tendrils of darkness, brushing the traveler's leg. Panic surged, and yet the queen's hand gripped theirs firmly. A pulse of energy shot through the traveler, a protective shield that pushed the shadow back. "You are stronger than you know," she said, her voice a mixture of awe and urgency. "But strength alone is not enough. You must trust me and yourself." They had no choice but to meet her gaze, to understand her, and in doing so, to understand themselves. The shadows continued to shift, forming shapes that whispered in unintelligible languages. The traveler felt the pull of fear, the temptation to flee back to safety. But the queen's hand never left theirs, her eyes never breaking contact. And in that gaze, the traveler felt a current of trust, fierce and unyielding. They reached a narrow path, a bridge made of starlight that bent impossibly across the void. One misstep and they would fall into nothingness. The traveler's knees trembled. "You can do this," the queen said, her voice a soft anchor against the dizzying expanse. "Step carefully, one foot then the next. And remember, I am beside you." Halfway across, a shadow surged from below, wrapping tendrils around the traveler's ankle. Fear shot through them, paralyzing and sharp. The queen reacted instantly, extending her hands. A radiant pulse of silver light erupted, scattering the shadow. The traveler stumbled but did not fall. "You see," the queen said softly as they steadied themselves. "Even in danger, you are stronger than you believe, and together, we are more than they expect. You are chosen because of what you are, and because what I am cannot endure alone any longer." Finally, they reached the end of the bridge, stepping onto a solid platform of crystalline stone. The shadows receded slightly, though their whispers lingered in the air. The traveler turned to the queen, chest heaving. "Why me?" they asked again. "Why risk so much?" And because even the strongest ruler, the oldest power, the most eternal being, cannot heal without someone willing to see them as they are. You may be that one. She was a storm contained in a perfect form, and they were standing in the eye of it. A distant roar echoed through the void, louder and closer now. The traveler's pulse quickened. "They are coming," the queen said, voice tight with urgency. "And this time we cannot hide." Fear was present, but it was tempered by trust, courage, and the strange bond that had grown between them and the queen. "Yes," they said, their voice steady despite the chaos. "Then we face them, together." The void seemed to hold its breath, the stars flickered, and the shadows twisted as if alive. The traveler realized that nothing would ever be the same. Their journey had truly begun, and the path ahead promised danger, discovery, and the transformation of both their heart and the queen's. The void stretched endlessly before them, darker and deeper than any night the traveler had ever known. The stars above shimmered faintly, their light struggling against the shadow that swirled and pulsed like a living thing. The roar of the unseen enemy grew louder, echoing across the infinite expanse, a constant reminder that danger was close, inescapable. The alien queen's hand gripped the travelers tightly, her silver eyes blazing with resolve. "This is it," she said. "Beyond this point there is no retreat, only the path forward or oblivion." Now standing on the edge of this impossible abyss, they felt the weight of destiny pressing upon them, yet also the clarity of purpose. "What must we do?" the traveler asked, voice steady despite the fear that still fluttered in their stomach. "We face the curse," the queen said, her gaze drifting to the swirling shadows that writhed in the void below. "The ritual is not simple. It will demand truth, courage, and sacrifice. And you must be willing to stand by me, even when the cost seems unbearable. To stand here is to face not just me, but the weight of my centuries, my fear, my loneliness, and the darkness I have carried. If you falter, step forward and let the ritual begin." "You must place your hand here," the queen instructed, pointing to the center of the circle. "And I will place mine over yours. Together we will bind the energy, confront the curse, and either survive or be consumed." The queen's touch was firm yet gentle, anchoring them against the growing force that surged from the runes. The shadows around them shivered and twisted violently, as if sensing the ritual. Shapes formed and dissolved in the darkness, faces, claws, impossible geometries, and the traveler felt a wave of fear wash over them. "You must focus," the queen said softly, her voice steadying them. "Do not let fear control you. We are stronger together. Trust me, trust yourself." The queen's voice rose, carrying a resonance that seemed to bend the very air. "I call upon the bonds of light and shadow, the ties of heart and truth. Let the curse that binds me be revealed, and let the choice of courage set us free." The traveler felt their heartbeat thrum in rhythm with the queen's, as if their very souls were entwined in the ritual. The shadows recoiled, then surged forward, testing the strength of their combined will. "Do not falter," the queen said, silver eyes locking with theirs. "Face what lies within yourself. Do not hide." "I see you," the traveler whispered, words carried not just by voice but by the power of truth in the ritual. "I see you, not the throne, not the crown, not the power, but you, and I stand with you." The traveler felt the void pressing against them, a force that wanted to pull them apart, erase their presence, and crush their hope. "Hold me," the queen commanded, urgency sharp in her tone. "Do not let go." And together they became a single force of courage, trust, and unbroken connection. The energy surged brighter, surrounding them in blinding silver light. The shadows writhed one last time, then dissolved into threads of mist that evaporated into the void. The runes beneath their hands glowed steadily, then dimmed, leaving the platform bathed in calm starlight once more. The queen lowered her hand from theirs, breathing heavily, yet a strange serenity softened her expression. "It is done," she whispered. "The curse is lifted, or at least it is no longer absolute." "Yes," the queen said, though her silver eyes were no longer hard or commanding. They were gentle, full of something she had not allowed herself to feel in centuries, hope. "We did it together." The stars glimmered like calm reflections, and the shadows were gone, leaving only light and the faint hum of the palace beyond. The traveler finally dared to speak, voice soft. I never imagined this, that I could." and that you could choose to stay, to stand, to trust, even in the face of what could have destroyed you. And I believe in you, she whispered, more than I have believed in anything for centuries. We cannot stay here forever, the Queen said finally, pulling back slightly. The worlds beyond await, and our place in them is not yet written. Together. For the first time, the alien Queen's majesty did not feel distant or untouchable. She was strong, yes, but also human in ways she had long denied herself. And the traveler, once uncertain and small, now carried the courage, the trust, and the bond that could face the infinite unknown at her side. The stars outside shimmered brighter, as if acknowledging the triumph, the trust, and the unbroken connection between two very different beings. The void, once threatening, now felt like a canvas, waiting for the brush of their choices, the path of their hearts, and the legacy of courage, love, and transformation. And as they walked into the unknown together, hand in hand, the traveler understood one thing clearly: the story was far from over. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but with the Queen beside them, there was nothing they could not face. They were no longer merely human, and she was no longer merely a ruler. Together they were something greater, a bond of hearts forged in shadows, tempered in light, and destined to face the stars.